a girl with a gun, stealing money from the rich man's land. Give me some water, 'cause I shot a man on the Mexican border. Cool water.
So you guessed it. This video is about water, voda, vand, agua, the liquid stuff that the earth is covered with and that we absolutely rely on. Well, apparently, one of the many alphabet agencies, this time the EPA, has decided you can't filter your water. And you're going to want to find out how to get around that. So you're going to want to sit back, you're going to want to relax, and you're going to want to check this out. But before we sail out into this very controversial sea of issues, I'm going to ask you to hit that subscribe button as well as the little bell next to it so you're notified of all new videos, because YouTube hates me. Here we go. So here it is. Another reason for YouTube to take down my videos, but I'm doing it anyways. It is what it is. Over the years, I've made a lot of videos on how to filter water while you're traveling, how to filter water from a pond, how to filter water from a high altitude stream. And no matter where I am in the United States, I don't care how clean the water looks, I filter it because our waters are absolutely contaminated, and that contamination is allowed to move forward unabated by the same alphabet agencies that decided to do, well, this.
The EPA has now banned Big Berkey water filters from being sold in the United States. That Big Berkey water filters are pesticides. But the EPA says that because Big Berkey water filters use silver as part of the filtration media in order to protect the media itself. But because there's silver in the filtration media, this silver also kills pathogens. Pathogens such as, certain bacteria and so on, and it can denature certain viruses that might pass through. And because it can kill pathogens, the EPA says, well, pathogens are pests, and therefore this is a pesticide. Therefore, Berkey water filters are pesticides, not water filters.
So there you go. After 25 years of producing and selling Big Berkeys to an incredibly large amount of satisfied customers, including myself, the actual water filter that literally cleans everything that shouldn't be in water out of water has now been banned by the EPA. Well, Richie, that's an authority figure. That group is there to protect us. Yeah, it's fun to say that, but it's not true at all. You see, we live in the United States of America, and corporations run absolutely everything. And I'm sure that sounds like a conspiracy theory to you, but here's the deal. It's a conspiracy that many of us have theorized over the years, and it turns out that there's tons and tons of paperwork to back it up. And let me show you, so you understand. Now I'm going to tell you a story.
Yeah! You guys rock! You know what I like about Boston? What's that? Winning the World Series. How about Big Poppy? Hey, is there a nickname for Millar?
Loudmouth? He might be Chunk now.
Yeah, he's Mouth and Chunk now. He came from the lake.
Hey, Bronson, is Nelson around?
Oh, Paisley's little guy. That's right.
Nelson?
Yeah, down by the river, down by the banks of the river Charles.
Johnny Nitro.
Oh, Johnny Nitro, that's right.
Yeah, that's where you find me.
Well, you knew I was going to throw that in there. But let's take a little bit of a look at how bad the water in the United States is. It's unbelievable. And the FDA, the EPA, and the NRC are all in charge of what gets dumped in and what's acceptable for humanity to ingest. It's pathetic. These guys charge us for water. When I was a kid, there was no such thing as bottled water. That's a fun fact for you. You could just drink it out of the tap. But these days, you cannot drink out of the tap whatsoever at all. And all the over-the-counter filters, etc., just don't work. Now, why do I say that? Well, I'm 55 years old. I started plumbing at the age of 17, and I was a really, really good plumber, and water filtration was one of my biggest pet peeves. And I went to great lengths to find out which water filter actually did what it needed to do. And it turns out the big Berkey system was the only one, which is why I gave away over 100 of them to my subscribers. Yeah, there you go. And just to qualify real quick, here's some plumbing work that I've done here and there, including one time for Vince Wilfork of the New England Patriots. I worked at his house for 2 weeks on my own. At any rate, this was Vince Wilfork's shower valve. Traditionally, you have a hot line and a cold line going in either side. But after doing a little bit of research, I discovered that if you piped it in a circular pattern like shown here, it would increase the water pressure even with just half-inch inputs on either side. And it worked like a champ. Way before I ever started making YouTube videos on anything, Richie from Boston 2, Richie from Boston 3, etc., so forth, blah, blah, blah. And then finally Jailbreak, which is all I have left on YouTube. I had always been concerned about fluoride in the water. And I would tell people about working at factories where the tanks that say fluoride were and how it was pumped into the water system. And everybody, including my own family, laughed at me because television told them that was a conspiracy theory. Yet I'm actually working in the water treatment facilities where you can see the tanks. Well, once again, that conspiracy theory became just regular old news, and no one seemed to care.
Some towns are actually removing fluoride from their tap water. Good evening to you. I'm David Wade.
I'm Brianna Pitts. Paula is off. The problem is a shortage of one type of fluoride, which can be added to the water supply.
It's administered non-consensually, which goes against the Charter of Rights. It goes against basic fundamental democratic values.
Montreal resident Ray Quayu and thousands of others are calling on the city of Montreal to stop the addition of fluoride in Pointe-Claire and Dorval's water filtration plants.
But Richie, fluoride is good for us because, well, they tell us it's good for us. Well, here's a funny story. Fluoride is a byproduct of processing aluminum. A company named Alcoa figured out at some point, hey, what do we do with all this hazardous material? And someone came up with the bright idea of dumping it into the water supply and telling people that fluoride was necessary for good teeth, even though every single solitary thing that's sold with fluoride in it has a warning label for poison control. If you swallow more than a pea-sized amount of toothpaste, you got to call poison control. And yet they're dumping fluoride into the water and have been for years. And I tried to warn people for years, but I was a crazy conspiracy theorist. Well, that's another one down, but on that, I'll digress. But why would they lie to us? Wouldn't the news tell us?
The sharing of biased and
False news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets are true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
And you know what's easy to tell that fluoride is affecting people is fluoride does a bunch of things to humans, and none of them are good. Because it's not a natural element. It's a byproduct of processing aluminum. It's toxic. Hence the poison control warning on everything with fluoride in it that nobody ever reads. The biggest thing about it is it causes memory loss. It makes people stupid. It's the leading ingredient in Prozac. And they're administering it to people. If you're an infant or you're a 250-pound adult, you're getting the same dose if you drink a glass of water. Did you sign up for that? It's hazardous waste. Pure and simple, period. But on that, I'll digress. Let's go back to the news, shall we? Well, the funny thing about the news is owned by the same corporations that are absolutely perpetrating all the worst atrocities on humanity and the earth that anyone's ever seen, because they bought the mainstream media. All of it. Ever wonder why when you say anything online, you get suddenly attacked by certain groups? Because they're all in this together. You heard that recently? Yeah. The reason I'm making this video is the EPA has screwed up so very many times and been caught taking payoffs from large corporations, etc. It's ridiculous. For them to go after a company like Big Berkey that's been around for a quarter of a century, that actually offers a product that helps protect you from what the EPA is supposed to protect you from, but don't. The list of things will be left in the description box below, so you can click on this link and look all this information up yourself. But this is absolutely unbelievable. Unbelievable. And we live in the United States. In my lifetime, 55 years is not enough time for the amount of destruction unless it was all allowed to happen, which, sadly, it was. One hand washes the other, so forth and so on. When big corporations get caught selling products that cause damage or cancer or any other thing, they simply have to pay, and they just drag it out for absolutely ever. Don't believe me? Look at this. This should alarm you right off the bat, but it's old news, and it doesn't get promoted on the mainstream media because the mainstream media, once again, is owned by the same companies that are the ones that are funding the FDA. You see, it's just a great big circle. It's a big club.
It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
Yeah, George Carlin stated it really well back in the old days, but here's a couple of examples. Johnson & Johnson got found out for selling baby powder that literally caused cancer. I covered this years and years ago on my other channels, and they're still debating on whether to pay or not. That's what happens when you're funding the FDA, the EPA, etc. Things like Bayer aspirin being sold, tainted with HIV. Bayer gets a little slap on the wrist, and then they just send it off to another country. They repackage it, they pay their fine, and they send it off to another country. Now, why am I talking about any of this in a water filter video? Because this all matters. These are big, big things. These watchdog groups that you pay for are supposed to protect you, and yet you've got aspirin manufacturers accidentally tainting their product with AIDS. You've got baby powder that causes cancer, and to get them to pay up or even to take responsibility for it takes decades and legal maneuvering. Money is all that matters, and Netflix wrapped this up perfectly in a show about OxyContin and DuPont. I mean, these guys knowingly destroy the world with a product that is chemically superior to the best heroin, and they get away with it. And then they just make a show about it, basically rubbing your face in it. And this isn't the first time that a watchdog group has let us down, because the government, the military, Oliver North, Barry Seal, these guys flooded the country with crack cocaine, and we thought that was really bad because we saw a rise in crime, murder, addiction, etc., etc. But nothing like what DuPont unleashed. And the funny thing about it is, even though they know how bad OxyContin is, how you are absolutely going to get addicted, it will ruin you and ruin your entire family, the FDA decided, hey, let's give it to children. To children. The most harmful, most addictive, and most pure form of heroin in a tablet form is now available for children. And I mean, the ages on this has dropped exponentially. It's unbelievable. Pediatrics giving OxyContin. I mean, this is insanity. But that's the government. Those are the alphabet agencies, all run and led on a string by large corporations. And don't forget that TV played its role in all of this.
Hey, blood.
TV glamorized gangster lifestyle, crack cocaine. Dudes out in the middle of a cornfield in Missouri didn't know anything about wearing their pants hanging around their waist and acting like jerk-offs until they saw it glamorized in television, MTV, and music videos, all of which the FCC is in charge of, another alphabet agency that does absolutely nothing to prevent the moral decay of the world, specifically the USA. because this is kind of our problem. The rest of the world don't do fluoride. They don't do advertising on television telling you what you should tell your doctor that he should give to you. It's unheard of. It's illegal. In the United States, par for the course. Now, the video's getting long as it is, and I still haven't even got to how to reuse your big Berkey filters, but I will. I wanted to lay the groundwork first. And I'm not even going to get into things like Ritalin, Adderall, all this stuff that didn't even exist when I was a kid, let alone the fact that in 1948, the Smith-Mundt Act was instituted, protecting the American citizens from the government using propaganda against them. Well, Obama repealed that, and the Smith-Mundt Act no longer protects Americans from their government using propaganda against them. That's a fact. Now, you can run over to fact checkers or Snopes or any of these other places and find out what they want you to hear, but recall and remember that all these fact checkers are owned by the same companies that own everything else. So, I think the story of America in the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years tells itself. When I was a kid, America was a much better place. America is an absolute laughingstock and shit show right now, in my opinion. Now let's be honest here. If our government was legit in any way whatsoever at all, they would take out the cartels. The cartels combined with the backing of the Central Intelligence Agency and other politicians, etc., have killed more Americans, more people in the world, but specifically Americans, than the Taliban could ever hope to. And yet, it just keeps going on unabated. Our borders are wide open. We've got people literally going out on their own videotaping migrants flooding into the country, and nobody stops it because of bureaucratic red tape. It's all about the money, which brings me to the last thing, the Big Berkey filter. These guys want to take out Big Berkey. It is what it is. They do what they do. FEMA's buying up all the filters so you can't get any more. But if you already own a Big Berkey filter, all you have to do is follow this video that I put up a couple of years ago to show you how you can use your filters pretty much indefinitely unless you break off pieces and parts. I've been a plumber for a long time. The dirtier a filter is, the better it works, period, unless it's clogged. And if it gets clogged, this is what you need to do. Here is the point of the video. I'm not going to get into forever chemicals, things that are in the water all over the United States. I'm just talking about day to day, trying to get by, trying to get around this stuff, because it is highly suspect to me that suddenly now they pick the time to ban filters that can literally filter a virus out of drinking water. A virus. What is their favorite thing in the world now? Mask up and lock in. And now they want to take away your only ability to fight back against all the damage they've allowed to be wrought on our drinking water, on our trees, on our atmosphere, everything. These guys have screwed up everything, and they're blaming it specifically and singularly now on you. Unfortunately, the academic community is helping to instill that into children from kindergarten all the way through graduate school, and it's working like a champ. They're simply waiting for dinosaurs like myself and you to die off. So here we go. How to clean your Big Berkey filter forever. So I've been promising my subscribers for a long time that I would do a video on this, and I just never got it done because every time I cleaned my filters, I didn't have a camera on. I use a Big Berkey water filter because it's the best setup, period. They're initially a little bit expensive when you first get them, but the problem is the filters are very expensive and people don't like buying them. Well, let me explain something to you. I'm 54 years old. I was a plumber at the age of 16 for about 25 years, and I'm a really good plumber. I've done a lot of different jobs, and I've worked in water treatment facilities, and I've seen the sodium fluoride tanks. People always thought it was a conspiracy theory. Well, it's just a fact. They put fluoride in the water, and they have for years. Fluoride is bad for you. This is an example of some of my work right here. This is a heating system that runs baseboard heating, forced hot water, domestic hot water, and radiant heating. This is just no big deal, but this is how good I am, just so you know. I'm not bragging, I'm qualifying, okay? I've put in a ton of high-end water filtration systems for the whole house, for single sinks, etc. And then I've used every type of water filtration pitcher, filter, etc. on the market. I've always filtered my water since I was a kid, because when you see the sodium fluoride tanks, you don't want to drink sodium fluoride. I don't care what doctors say. Ingesting fluoride does not help your teeth. That's like drinking suntanning lotion and hoping it's going to somehow keep you from getting a sunburn. Make sense? Well, it should.
There really is no other way to get that benefit. That's the most effective way to prevent decay as community water fluoridation.
Dr. James Antoon says he was saddened to hear that the residents of MIMS may be losing their water fluoridation. He was part of the medical community that helped educate the area and Titusville before they each started adding fluoride to the water.
So yeah, there's fluoride in your water and all sorts of other terrible things in your water. And if you don't filter your water, you're not doing yourself any service. At any rate, the Big Berkeys work really well. I've had one for years. I recommend them big time, and I hate buying the filters, and I don't, because a water filter actually works better the more it's used. But once in a while, they'll clog up, and cleaning them out is fairly easy, and all you need is an air compressor or a bottle of compressed air and a little bit of common sense. I'm going to show you how to do it right now. So you simply take your Big Berkey, take the cover off, obviously, take the top part off of it, like so, dump it out, makes it a lot easier, or it's going to be a big mess. Look at that happy face. Look at that badass haircut that I administered to myself. Okay, you take the bottom fluoride filters and you unscrew them. If you have a Big Berkey, you know how to do this. Unscrew the filter on both sides. Put those to the side for right now. Pull off the little rubber corks and give those a nice clean with hot water. And then take scalding hot water. I don't use any soap. And clean out the top of the tank while you have it out. You know what I'm saying? And then just clean everything that is stainless steel with scalding hot water. If you want to use soap, but I did not. This thing's been here for about 6 years, and it's amazing how little filth ends up congregating in the bottom of the pan, but I still give it a good cleaning. Now, take the filters. And I use a little blowgun tip on my compressor, like this one right here that you can get for $10, or like this one. And if you don't have a compressor, you can get a bottle of compressed air on Amazon. You see what I mean? You take that nozzle, you hook it to your compressor or your compressed air bottle, and you simply insert it into the end of the water filter. And watch what comes out of this. It's unbelievable. This has been going for about a year. And the way you can always tell that your filters need to be cleaned is it takes forever for the Big Berkey to actually filter water. After doing this, it filters it like a champ all over again. So you do the 2 black filters, as shown, and then you take the actual fluoride filters. Make sure you put the air gun in the correct direction for airflow. And I wrap a little rag around the end because there's a space there, a gap, and simply blow it out. And while you're blowing it out, once again, take an opportunity to admire that phenomenal haircut. I don't even know what it's called, but it was driving me crazy, and I had too much to do to make an appointment to go get a haircut, so I did it myself. I do everything myself. I can't stop myself. At any rate, take the filters, blow some air through, clean them out, and then simply reassemble your unit. Run some hot water over the filters after you blow them out, just to get any schmutz that's still on them off. Rinse everything out with really hot water. Again, I don't use any type of soap detergent or anything. I just use really hot water. Clean it out. Put the top filters back in. Put the cork washers back on. Screw the fluoride filters back on. They only go one way. It's got an arrow right on it. You can't go wrong. And basically, you're good to go. These things last forever. And I don't care what anybody says. Ask anybody that's been doing water filtration for a long time to tell you the truth. The worse the filters get, the better they work. It's just a fact. But sometimes these things get clogged with algae, etc., and you need to blow them out. Once that's off there, they do their job all over again. And if you want to know about fluoride in your water, look up a company called Alcoa. You don't ingest fluoride for better teeth. It doesn't work like that. But I'm not going to get into that because that sounds an awful lot like a conspiracy theory. At any rate. Now simply fill your big Berkey up, and in a few hours you'll have a pitcher full of water. It works out really well. You can use any type of air compressor, a little portable one, the kind that you use to fill your car tires, a job site compressor. You don't have to have a massive compressor to do this whatsoever at all. And it's worth your time. And if you don't want to get a compressor, you can always buy one of these guys, an air shot, and you fill it up at a gas station, and it's compressed air that'll allow you to blow out the filters like I showed in the video. It's pretty straightforward. Now, everyone's going to say, but doctors have recommended fluoride in water, and the EPA stands behind it, etc. Just remember, doctors are also the ones that pushed OxyContin on everybody because it upped their profit margin. Again, the Netflix show Painkiller literally shows the entire thing start to finish. They knew what they were doing. They made a drug that the supply creates its own demand. They lied. They damn well knew it was going to be bad for society, and they don't care. They don't care because medical school is run by corporations that want you to maintain. They'll never get you well again. They'll just get you on a prescription to maintain. So remember that. Okay, so if you don't have a big Berkey, chances are you're not going to be able to get one now. There is another option, and it's a pretty good option, and a lot of people do it. I'm not going to get into it ad nauseum in this video because we're already at a half an hour, but I will leave links pinned in the description box below to other YouTubers and websites that can show you how to make a distiller. A portable distiller, a rainwater distiller, or a, serious full-blown solar-powered distiller, because there's a variety of them out there and they work like a champ. You're basically turning water into steam and then drinking the steam after it's been purified. You can't ask for better than that. You can, but you won't get it. I'll also leave a link to Jailbreak Overlander on Amazon, and I'll make a complete water distilling parts list to make it easier for you. And you might want to take a look at this site anyways, because everything I've ever talked about or everything I've ever used successfully, I've basically posted on this so you can get them for yourself. At any rate, this video went really long. It took me 3 days to make this, and it's going to take about 6 hours to upload, so I'm at the end here. I want to remind you to, if you enjoyed this video or you got anything out of it, hit that like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment below, and I will return the favor. I am out.